The NFL is a very cyclical league. Every year, there's some twist and shift in the soap opera we love to call the National Football League. We've seen franchises defy expectations, break records, and leave fans speechless. Whether it's an underdog story, an unexpected rise to glory, or a season that is turned upside down, these teams fill out their role and never fail to leave us entertained. In this video, I'll explore the teams that will shock us the most this upcoming season. Stay tuned. Honorable mention: Chargers. This was a bridge year for the Chargers. The main purpose of this offseason was to tear down the dysfunctional parts of their roster in favor to build something closer to their identity and vision. So it's easy to say that this team isn't really in a position to make a push, but I sort of see some magic room here. Justin Herbert is fantastic, obviously, and they have a couple of potential breakout candidates that I can see under Harbaugh. Now, obviously, this won't be a Super Bowl run or anything, but I can see them sneaking their way into the playoffs, which I don't know if a lot of people are expecting. The seventh most surprising team: Jets. Now, the Jets are a really good team, and I'm sure people know this, but I don't think they realize how good they could be. Remember how great the Jets defense was for the past 2 seasons? If you didn't, pop on the tape. They single-handedly carried the Jets to wins, constantly shut down elite quarterbacks, and were responsible for like half of the Jets' points. I can't overstate how great this Jets defense was, and if they had a better offense, they'd 1000% be considered the best in the league. But now, in this upcoming season, alongside that defense, they have an offense with top 5 potential, and I think people know the Jets are going to be good. They're aware of the talent. They just don't like them. They already went through this exact same experience last season, especially with them being on Hard Knocks and everything, and they've already been oversaturated from Jets content and hate them already. It's more of an overhated case than being underrated, but with the talent this team possesses, they are legitimately contenders, and people are not talking about that enough. I feel like this season, they're going to shock a lot of people. 6th, we got the Falcons. Alright, the Falcons have been the butt of a lot of jokes this offseason, especially because of the Michael Penix debacle. But am I insane if I say that they're going to be pretty good? And not just them, the entire NFC South. Look at it this way. They have 3 high potential pieces in Pitts, London, and Bijan that before were actively being held back by Arthur Smith, doing everything in his power to limit their reps for no real reason too. And when you eliminate that and include the fact that their offensive line is really good, they have an incredible abundance of offensive talent. Now, the defense isn't anything to sneeze at. Not picking an edge rusher really hurt that, but it has enough pieces along with a great defensive mind in Raheem Morris to shape things out for them. Again, it's easy, like really easy to clown them for their questionable Penix selection, but not only is this team incredibly talented, but they have a really easy schedule too. I think their record on paper is going to look a lot better than what people think. 4, Cleveland Browns. I had Deshaun Watson in my surprise quarterbacks list, so it should be obvious that he's at least part of the reason the Browns are this high. We know how good he could be. At his peak, he was a top 3 signal caller in the league, and with the most important player on the field having that high of a ceiling, it has to land you a spot on this list. It's not only him though. The Browns overall are a really strong team. With no Watson, no Chubb for majority of the year, Stefanski was able to will them to a really good record off of great coaching, great defense, and a late season Joe Flacco resurgence. It'll be really fun to see how an improved team with a quarterback with that explosive potential will do. But they're kind of overshadowed by the Bengals and Ravens, who are kind of the 2 flashy guys in the group. And it's tough not to be when your division is that stacked, but it's also disingenuous to ignore the Browns when they're just as talented, if not better than at least one of those teams. The Browns have a good shot to be first in the division, if not second, but the focus remains on the other 3 teams. They're pretty sneaky. Next, Carolina Panthers. I know you're starting to see some similarities with the quarterbacks list, and with the Panthers at least. I can say what I said in this video verbatim, but let me just sum it up when I say this. The Panthers went 10 toes in when they decided to build around Bryce Young. They overpaid, if you will. Made sure you had proper protection, made sure you had proper receiving help, and swapped out the coach. Young was in a horrific situation on that Panthers squad last year, like teetering around Urban Meyer levels bad. But when things were in a hot pile of shit, he didn't look too bad. With the division being relatively weak and the schedules being so easy, the Panthers have an opportunity to be at least around 500, and with some people predicting them to get the first overall selection, I'd 100% say that's a sizable enough jump to surprise some people. 2, Titans. It's a big year for the guys in Tennessee. They've moved on from Derrick Henry, they're firmly out of the Ryan Tannehill era, and they have a second-year quarterback ready to pop out and try and prove himself. Will Levis is probably the biggest boomer bust quarterback for this year, and as the theme has been for the video, wherever the quarterback goes, the rest of the team does too. Now, people are aware of this. I'm sure they're well aware of the potential Levis has, and by de facto, the rest of the team, but I'm not sure they realize how much potential this team has. Obviously, I mentioned how good Levis could be, but every position addition has crazy upside. A lot of people aren't talking about it, but D-Hop, Ridley, and Treylon Burks could easily be a top 5 receiving core in the NFL. As bad as their O-line was last year, they've made major strides to add talent to it, and they added arguably a top 5 cornerback in L'Jarius Sneed to bolster the weakest part of their team. If all of the parts hit on the squad, I assure you, we will see some high-level play from the Titans. Now, it will be tough to get all these needed parts running, but they have a fantastic coach in Mike Vrabel who has shown the ability to be a fantastic floor raiser. The only concern now would be Levis, who I also think has shown enough promise to give the Titans an immense amount of optimism heading into the next season. 2. Bills. The Bills have been great for a while. Josh Allen has been a top 5 quarterback in the league for half a decade. He's had an elite receiver in Stephon Diggs, and most of all, they've consistently made super deep playoff runs. Unfortunately, despite this, they haven't been able to crack past the AFC Championship game since they've run into a brick wall called the Kansas City Chiefs every single time. This year though, I think that window is closed. The Bills are sort of at a crossroads here. Obviously, if you have Josh Allen, you're always poised for success, but not only did they tear their secondary to shreds, but they lost a major offensive piece in Diggs. I know a lot of people think that they're going to take a step back. I think that step is a lot bigger than what you'll see. I know it's hard to envision, but I see a universe where they fall well below 500, which would be insane, I know. But tough division, tough schedule, and in the bridge season, I see them having a down-ish year and retooling to take a shot next year. Now, still, there is potential that they do decently well. Obviously, I mentioned how good Josh Allen is, and maybe Keon Coleman can have a really good rookie year. Outside of that, the ceiling for this team is so low that I really don't see them getting to the playoffs. Shoot, I don't know if they stretch above 500 this year. The AFC is so loaded, it's really tough for a team like the Bills to have consistent success.